Got Senator Tom Cotton joining us, Republican from Arkansas. Senator, on the great mask debate, where are you?
Well, I try to keep my distance. If I can't keep my distance, then I wear a mask. It's pretty simple. And as we move forward as a people to try to get our economy back open, personal responsibility is going to go a long way in protecting ourselves from this virus. So washing your hands, not touching your face, trying to keep your distance, wearing a mask where you can't keep a distance, exercising that level of care for all of us, and utmost care if you're in the vulnerable population or elderly. I think that's going to be critical to getting the economy back on its feet.
You know, one reporter had asked the president this. I'd be curious to get your take, sir, that as president, do you have a role to play in providing an example to wear a mask? And to go ahead, now the president, to be fair, said he was wearing one. He didn't pull one out. And I saw two of the executives nod their head to confirm that. But should he be, if he's at a facility that requires it, be wearing one?
I think the president is acting responsibly, not overreacting. As you said, those executives were nodding their head that he was wearing a mask and wearing goggles when it was called for. As Dr. Sapphire said, the president is obviously different from most people in his day-to-day conditions in the sense that he's got a medical team all around him and he's tested every single day for the virus. But like all of us, we should be wearing a mask if we can't keep our distance. But if you can, then the mask is not necessary.
You know, we can talk about, I'm sorry, Senator, I think the president is answering a couple of more reporters' questions.
I think we will. I think we're going to be helping people out. We're going to be getting some money for them during the artificial, because it really is. It's an artificial closure. And now we're going to be able to open it up. This isn't like for long-term problems, and it takes years and years to have it come back. The Depression took 12 years, 14, 15 years. We're going to be back next year. Maybe even in the fourth quarter, in a few months, we're going to be back because we closed it and now we open it. But I would say there could be one more nice shot, one more nice.
And what do you think should be in it?
Well, I'd let you know, and I know exactly, but I'd rather do it at the appropriate time.
We know what
today we're celebrating these great companies doing ventilators and other equipment, but we have a very, very specific plan, and it'll be great for the American people. And our economy is going to be back soon, and Ford and General Electric and these great companies that helped us so much in a time of need, they're going to be very happy. They're going to be, and you're already gearing up. I know you're gearing up. Your lines are starting to roll, making cars again. So a lot of things are happening. And by the way, on our southern border, it's never been so secure. We're up to almost 200 miles of wall, and we have never had, that whole area is, nobody comes through that area. The area where the wall goes up, that's the end of that.
And so you're having this speech here this afternoon. What are you thinking about in terms of campaign rallies? When will you be able to get back to big rallies?
So as soon as you're able to have people get in, we've never had an empty seat since the day I came down the escalator with our future First Lady. We've never had an empty seat. You know that. And would have thousands of people we sent away. And I think the demand now from what we see is greater than ever before. We're going to have to go to certain states where we're able to, look, I don't want to have a stadium where you're supposed to have a person and then 7 empty seats and then another person. So we might do some outdoor big ones, and we may also just wait till the stadiums can open up. I think it's going to be soon. We'll go to a place like Florida. We'll go to a place like maybe Georgia or some other place where they're going to be opening up. Whoever opens up first. The demand has been incredible to get going with the rallies. I just hear the music in the background. I'm saying we've had rallies like nobody's ever had. And we would love to get back to that. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later.
And I know you were asked about this briefly this morning, this new AstraZeneca vaccine from Oxford that HHS has invested $1 billion in. How much promise do you think that holds for an early vaccination program?
I think it holds tremendous promise, but we have many other companies who are just about as far along. We have many companies. We have the greatest pharmaceutical companies in the world. They're equally, they're really in a position, and I'm not only talking about vaccine, I'm talking about cures and therapeutics. Therapeutically, we have some things coming out which we think are going to be great, but they have to be tested quickly, and we're doing it very quickly.
Who would get the vaccine first? First responders, elderly people?
Right now, what we're doing is we're setting logistically with our military. Our military is in gear so that we can give 150, 200 million shots quickly. The military is in gear. You know, we can move a couple of 100,000 soldiers immediately in time of emergency. So this is not nearly as big a deal as that. It's equally as important, perhaps, but it's not as tough logistically.
But how would you prioritize it?
I'll sit down with a lot of people and we'll figure it out. We're going to sit down with the military, and we hope to be in that position fairly soon. So rather than having the vaccine, doing the test, and then starting to gear up, we're taking a risk because, you know, it could be that if something happened, but I don't think that's going to be. But in addition to that company, we have other companies that are very far advanced. And also, don't forget, therapeutics and cure. We're talking about a vaccine in this case, but therapeutics and cure. And frankly, that's my first choice because that would take care of people that are in trouble right now. Okay?
Mr. President, on the issue of testing, there's been questions about whether you're satisfied or not with what the CDC is doing, the work they're doing, particularly the director, Dr. Redfield. Can you address that? Are you satisfied?
I think they're doing a good job, a really good job in a very complex situation. You know, we started off, nobody knew what the virus was. It came in from China. Nobody knew what it was. And frankly, I think they've done a really good job. I'm very happy about it. A lot of other people think they've done a lot of, great work. We're now up to, and this is beyond even CDC because we've done it between Jared Kushner and a lot of geniuses coming in from Silicon Valley and a lot of people, these companies where they could make ventilators and all. Look, what we did with ventilators is incredible because we geared up in a short period of time through General Electric, Ford, they're represented here at the top level, through other companies. We were at Honeywell the other day, they make masks. Who would think Honeywell is making a mask? But that's what they're making now, is a mask. It's a very high-tech company. You know, they make the dashboards to an airplane and lots of other things, and now they're making masks. Our company's geared up so quickly, so fast. Honeywell opened a plant in 3 weeks from literally zero to open making masks in 3 weeks. It's been an incredible achievement. There's never been anything done like this since the end of World War II.
You said a number of weeks ago we can't let the cure become worse than the disease. Where are we in that calculus?
I think I was the first one to say it. I don't know when you say that I was the first one, but you can't let the cure become worse than the problem itself.
Where are we?
I think the governors have to start opening up. We now know the disease. We know the weaknesses and the strengths. We know that older people are affected gravely, and younger people are not affected gravely, frankly. You look at the statistics, it's incredible. And we know that we have to protect some people much more so. I think a lot of the governors have done a very, very poor job on nursing homes, but they've done a good job on other things. I know every governor. I can grade every governor. But we've made a lot of hero governors. We've done a great job for the governors, and my relationship with them in almost all cases is very good. And remember this, one of the beauties we were just talking about, not one person who needed a ventilator didn't get a ventilator.
But with another 2.4 million people claiming first-time unemployment insurance benefits today, how close are we to the cure being worse than the disease?
I think that a lot of these states are going to, the ones that are sort of sticking to a certain very rigid pattern, I think they're going to stop. I don't think the people are going to stand for it. This is a country that's meant to be open, not closed. And we did the right thing, John. We saved millions of lives, millions and millions of lives. You would have had anywhere from 1.5 million to 2.5 million, 3 million lives. Think of it. So if we were at 100,000, instead of 100,000, multiply that times 15, 20, or 25, it wouldn't have been acceptable. It wouldn't have been sustainable. We couldn't have done it. So we've called it right, and now I want it open, and we're going to open, and if there's a fire, an ember, a flame, someplace we put it out. But the people have done a great job, and General Electric, Ford, and all the other people that work with them have done fantastic work. And Honeywell, again, I was there last week, but Honeywell, they've done fantastically well also. Thank you very much.
You mentioned the embers are smaller fires. You talked about the virus coming up. Are you concerned about a potential second wave of this virus?
People say that's a very distinct possibility. It's standard, and we're going to put out the fires. We're not going to close the country. We're going to put out the fires. There could be, whether it's an ember or a flame, we're going to put it out. but we're not closing our country.
Are you looking to replace Dr. Redfield, or is his job
No.
safe?
All right, you never know when the president stops to talk to reporters. He does mention a moving target figure about had he not intervened to stop flights from China earlier this year, many millions more would have died. There's just no way to quantify that. Some have tried to say it potentially could have meant tens of thousands more dying in this country. The president does offer a moving target on that figure. The first time I've heard it this high, up to 2.5 million. No way of knowing. Senator Tom Cotton, on that point, and you've been patient enough, and I appreciate that, sir, to sit through all of that. Do you know where that number comes from, and that the president not intervened early to stop Chinese flights coming into this country, that the numbers would have been into the millions higher in fatalities? What have you heard on that?
Neil, I know there have been some studies that have suggested that. I think it is going to be hard to quantify. Maybe one day in the future when we have all the facts and all the evidence about this virus, which we still lack in part because of Chinese dishonesty, we may know that. But here's what we do know, that in December and January, about 22,000 people were flying from mainland China into the United States every single day. That's why in mid-January, as soon as I learned about this virus and its very dangerous features in Wuhan, I began urging the president to shut down air travel. And against the recommendations of a lot of people, that's exactly what he did in late January, buying us critical days. He did the same thing from Europe as well. We now know that we'd probably be a little bit better off in the United States if New York City had shut down activity there a little bit earlier. But even if you can't quantify it, I think there's no doubt that those early shutdowns of travel from China and Europe helped save a lot of time and ultimately save a lot of lives.
The reason why I asked, Senator, and you and I have discussed this in the past, is that if there was, in retrospect, an urgent need to stop this early on, why is there a rush now to unwind this at this point?
Well, as the president said in the past, we've now lost over 90,000 Americans to this virus, and that was with our guard up. So you can only imagine what would have happened with our guard down. There's no doubt that we've saved a lot of lives. But also, I think the American people individually are now on guard as well. So you can count on the American people to do the right thing on an individual basis, like keeping their distance, wearing a mask if they can't, washing their hands, not touching their faces, so on and so forth. That's very different from where we were in early February, when a lot of people were saying that this virus is not going to reach the United States. We don't need to be worried about it. You can go about your business. Some leaders, unfortunately, were even saying that into March as well. So I just think the American people recognize how contagious this virus is and how deadly it is, especially for our elderly and those who are infirm. So I think that's one reason why we can get the economy back on its feet. Obviously looking for surges and implementing countermeasures if we see any surges, but so far things seem to be going pretty well in the states that opened up a little bit earlier, just like in some of the countries that opened up a little bit earlier. Let's hope that that remains the case.
Senator Cotton, thank you very much. We always enjoy talking to you. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas joining us right now as the president is wrapping up at least the public portion of this trip to this Ypsilanti